Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to be looking at the very latest stimulus news, the breaking news that is just out. We're going to be touching on all topics related to the stimulus, but especially the stimulus checks and the expanded unemployment insurance. So here is the good news. We have unequivocal confirmation that the stimulus checks will be issued once again. That is, you will be receiving another round of stimulus checks if you meet certain criteria. So my name is Kevin Conway. I'm a lawyer from California and I make personal finance videos and stimulus news update videos all the time. And I know that many of you watch these videos but don't subscribe. So please, if you're one of those people, just go ahead and subscribe to the channel and give a quick like to the video and share it with people if you think it would help them out. Now let's jump right into it. So as I mentioned in my previous videos, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who very well could be the most powerful man in Congress right now, has expressed support for additional stimulus checks. Now, it's not only support that he's expressed, he's confirmed it in a speech. On the Senate floor, Mitch McConnell said, "Speaking of building on what worked in the CARES Act, we want another round of direct payments to help American families keep driving our national comeback." Now that's about as direct as you can possibly be with a support of another round of stimulus checks. Now, based upon what Mitch McConnell has said in the recent past, it looks like the eligibility criteria for the stimulus checks will be revised from what the CARES Act originally had. When Mitch McConnell went around on a speaking tour in his home state of Kentucky, he consistently referenced the $40,000 a year worker and how they, of all workers, are being impacted more so than those who originally qualified for the stimulus check. That is, individuals making up to $75,000 or actually all the way up to $99,000. So while we do not know exactly what the criteria will be for this additional stimulus check, it appears highly likely, given his comments in the past about the $40,000 a year worker, that the stimulus check will be capped at $40,000 per year in wages that the person received before the pandemic. And it'll probably be scaled down to a little bit less with each additional $1,000 that that person received in income from the year prior. And I understand how this can be pretty frustrating. Just because you made more than $40,000 in the past doesn't mean that you make $40,000 now, or even that you have a job now, and you could very well need that stimulus check more than other people. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments below. But why would they cap anyone's income for another round of stimulus checks in the first place? Why are we even capping people's incomes? Well, it boils down to priorities. So the Republican Party, which controls the Senate and everything that passes must go through the Senate, wants to keep the total stimulus package below $1 trillion. For context, the House of Representatives passed a few months ago something called the HEROES Act, which was $3 trillion. So the House passed something significantly bigger and more extensive than what the Senate wants to pass. This is because the Republicans, as part of the priority, want to keep the total debt and deficit lower as opposed to much higher. And as a result, they need to cut spending in certain areas. And with an income cutoff on the stimulus check, while not perfect, finds a lot of support in their party. And therefore, I think that's going to be the key to passing this bill, is having some sort of compromise. But just think about that. $1 trillion is the low-end estimate of this revised stimulus package. That's unbelievable if you actually think about it. Let me know what you would do with $1 trillion to get the economy going once more. Now, on to unemployment insurance expansion. So as I mentioned at the top of this video, it is unlikely by July 31st that Congress will repass the unemployment insurance extension benefits. And that may be bad for a lot of people, but really it's not as bad as a lot of people think. And here's what I mean. I don't mean that not extending the unemployment insurance benefits would be a good thing. As I mentioned in my previous videos, I highly anticipate, number one, that amount of unemployment insurance, or at least a couple $100s of that, to be expanded once more. And number two, if that doesn't occur, economists, right, left, and center have said unequivocally that the economy will inevitably lose millions and millions and millions of jobs because so many people are dependent on that. What I mean here is that while it may not pass by July 31st, given the way the benefits clock works, it likely will be passed before the next round of unemployment insurance checks are distributed. So it won't actually affect anyone on unemployment insurance today. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has stated as much. He said that it is unlikely that the unemployment insurance benefits will be expanded and reauthorized by the end of July. Now, this is really frustrating because Congress was on a recess for more than 2 weeks. So if it's a timing issue, it's pretty irritating that they were out not writing this law, and a lot of people are now worried and anxious that their unemployment benefits won't be extended again. But here's the simple fact of the matter. Benefits work on a 2-week basis in the vast majority of states, and therefore this additional pandemic unemployment insurance boost will not actually be reduced to zero on anyone's paychecks because they're going to pass something before the next round of checks are sent out. And as I mentioned in my previous video, there's a tremendous amount of support that exists today that didn't exist a few weeks ago for extending these unemployment insurance benefits. As I mentioned, I have some contacts in Washington, D.C. that have stated unequivocally that the politicians that they're talking to are going to pass the expanded unemployment insurance benefits. But we have a few more pieces of information that I alluded to on my previous video that is going to tell you exactly how much the unemployment insurance benefits are actually going to be. According to several news outlets, the Republicans have stated that they want unemployment insurance to be done in the, quote, proper way. And by that, they mean they do not want people to make more on unemployment insurance than they did at their jobs before they lost their jobs. Again, this is something I pointed out in my previous video as having the support of all of these people to get on board once more and pass this bill. They need some sort of compromise. They need the incentive structures to be right in their mind for a lot of people, even if a lot of people don't actually have that choice. Many people don't have the choice to go back to work right now. It isn't a choice between working and not working, and unemployment insurance is just better, so they stay on it. That may be some people. But for a lot of people, there is no choice to go back to their jobs. Their employers may have shut down permanently. Their local cities may have just put a shelter-in-place order in and close all of their businesses. So it's not really a choice that begs incentives to push you on one side of the fence or the other. And as a result, I think this is probably a little bit misguided. But in order of passing something once more, this is going to be a necessary condition for certain politicians. Now, how much will that unemployment insurance be? We have a little bit more information, and according to a few different sources, it looks like that expanded unemployment insurance will be probably not $600 per week anymore, but between $200 and $400 per week, but capped at whatever you're making before the pandemic started. Again, this goes back to actually keeping the total price tag of the additional stimulus as low as possible. They want to target $1 trillion, and the Democrats want to target $3 trillion. The White House has supported something around $2 trillion, but who really knows? They are trying to trim around the edges, that's for sure, while still allowing the economy to hum along. So let's talk about a few additional things that are going to make it into this additional stimulus bill. The first one, which is really interesting to me and probably only to me because I'm a lawyer, is liability protection. This, I think, is a rather smart thing to include in the new stimulus bill, although it's not going to be completely fair to everybody. What do I mean by liability protection? Well, in this additional stimulus bill, it looks like the Republicans are trying to push, and Mitch McConnell has been extremely clear about this being a red line for him, additional liability protections for businesses that go and reopen once again. What does this mean? If you're a business and you reopen and somebody gets sick at your business or gets sick in general and happen to frequent your business and then sues you, you could lose everything. And that could force a lot of business owners to say, you know what, I don't want to take the chance. I'm going to stay shut down. I'm going to stay having my employees at home and not paying them. I'd rather just not take the risk. And a lot of businesses will just simply not reopen. Mitch McConnell points this out and says that everyone from universities to schools and small businesses will be affected if we have a tidal wave of, quote, frivolous lawsuits. But like I said at the top, this may not exactly be totally fair to everybody. What happens if you really did get sick visiting a business, and now with this liability protection, you wouldn't be able to sue them. Well, I don't actually think that's how it's going to work out in the bill. I actually think that there will be certain exceptions for people who really did get sick from businesses, so long as that business did not take adequate precautions to enforce certain social distancing or cleaning measures, and their negligence resulted in the person actually getting sick. I think there will still be carve-outs there, but I do think that without liability protection, a lot of businesses simply will not open. This may be a somewhat controversial point, so let me know what you think in the comments below. I want to hear from people who support additional liability protections and those who actually don't support them at all. Now, speaking of reopening, $100 billion of the $1 trillion budget that is allocated for this additional stimulus bill, at least according to the Republicans, is supposed to go towards state and local governments to plug the budget deficits that they have faced as a result of the pandemic. Of this $100 billion, it looks like $70 billion will be specifically allocated to reopening schools by having additional testing, additional social distancing, plexiglass, whatever it may be, just to get those schools open once again. Additionally, it looks like we're going to have another round of PPP loans, that is Paycheck Protection Program loans. These are the loans that were totally forgivable to businesses so long as they met certain criteria, and essentially was a free loan from the government that you got to use to keep your employees on payroll. It looks like we're going to have another round of PPP loans, but it looks like it's going to be targeted towards the hard-hit businesses. What exactly qualifies as a hard-hit business? Nobody really knows right now, but it's safe to say that industries like tourism will probably be considered hard-hit businesses. Furthermore, there's also talk about giving a payroll tax cut, which would help workers who still have their jobs. What is a payroll tax cut? Well, as anyone who's received a paycheck understands, they can look there and see that certain amount of money of their paycheck is always taken out for Social Security. That is your employee portion. Your employer also pays the same amount as you do on your check, but you never actually see it on your check. So whether it's an employee deduction or an employer deduction, either way, your paychecks will likely grow if this payroll tax cut actually goes into effect. But it doesn't look like this has a ton of support from either the right or the left, so I'm doubtful that the payroll tax cut will actually finally make its way into this new additional stimulus bill. But it could. It's being talked about right now. But again, if they want to keep the total price down as low as possible, I think this is one of the first things to go. So there you have it. That is the latest with the stimulus update about stimulus checks and unemployment insurance. This week and next week are going to be crucial to formulating that additional stimulus bill. A lot is going to change between now and then, so if you want to stay informed, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give a quick like to this video if it helped you out. I'll see you next time. Thanks.